Hello, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar presentation on the Connecticut Hydrogen and Electric Automobile Purchase Rebate Program, otherwise known as CHEAPR. And we'll be answering questions at the end of today's presentation, so if you have any questions, please enter them into the questions chat tab on your chat box. Before we begin, since this webinar is live and we are working from home, at times we may experience some technical difficulties, mostly audio, the occasional frozen screen, and a delay in slide transitions. But let's get right into it. Now, if you are someone who is either currently selling cars, leasing cars, or wants to sell more cars, or get ahead of the curve on how the auto industry is changing, then you are in the right place. I'm Tom O'Neill, a dealership outreach coordinator with the Center for Sustainable Energy, or CSE, and CSE is the administrator of the CHEAPR program contracted by the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. And joining me today is Leo Carl from Carl Chevrolet, and Leo has proven success in selling EVs in Connecticut and is here today to help share how you can too. During today's presentation, you will learn about the growing electric vehicle market and how that can benefit you and your dealership, a real-world experience using the CHEAPR program, and how to participate in the CHEAPR program yourself. And right off the bat, I want you to know that the CHEAPR program is designed to help you sell your cars by providing EV car buyers with an instant rebate of up to $5,000. Now, we know car sales have been challenging in 2020 for some obvious reasons, and we saw a major decline in automotive sales earlier this year. But in more recent months, there has been a solid and growing rebound. We understand that all of you have been directly impacted by this, and as a result of the economic recession, and may be dealing with a multitude of other different challenges. But this isn't the first economic struggle that automakers and dealers have faced, even in recent memory. After 9/11 and the 2008 global recession, we saw similar economic downturns like we are experiencing right now, and there are some valuable lessons learned from those times. We learned that customers are looking for affordability, value, and stability, and electric vehicles solve all of these pain points. We have seen consumer demand for cars shifting away from gas-powered to electric, and it's clear more and more people are thinking about EVs, and the CHEAPR rebate will make it easier for them to purchase one. In fact, according to the International Energy Agency, in 2019, the United States had roughly 880,000 battery electric and 570,000 plug-in hybrids on the road. And this chart clearly demonstrates the growing number of electric vehicles, not just in the US, but a global shift in the direction of the auto market. And in response to this, governments like the state of Connecticut are offering rebates like CHEAPR, and auto manufacturers have made commitments to increase EV adoption, and you are a key part of that process. The automotive industry is working on meeting that demand by making several key commitments to increasing the availability of electric vehicles to the market. In addition to similar commitments made by states like that of Connecticut, which has developed an EV roadmap to lay out their plans and has committed to an ambitious goal of putting 125 to 150,000 EVs on the road by 2025. And many different OEMs have made their own commitments to increase their production and availability of their EVs. Such as those like Nissan, which is pushing for 12 new zero-emission vehicles by 2022, and Ford is investing $11 billion in battery electric and plug-in hybrids by the same year. And also, Toyota is aiming for half of all global sales to be electric by 2025. And while these commitment deadlines are still several years away, they are coming up fast. And it's important to be at the forefront of these initiatives by increasing the availability of EVs on your lot and normalizing them into standard business operations. One of the best things that you can do to help push your EVs out is by offering them as rentals and also allowing employees to try them for a few days. This will help relaying the benefits and experience of driving rebate-eligible models. In Connecticut, the CHEAPR program alone has helped get more than 6,000 electric vehicles on the road, contributing to reduced air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions and providing intangible benefits in the public health. What's interesting is that the Union of Concerned Scientists conducted a survey in 2019 with not so surprising but extremely relevant findings about car shoppers, showing that the availability of an incentive was a huge factor in the decision-making process, and this was clear across all types of car shoppers. Now, with the growing consumer demand, your EV inventory is going to be a distinct advantage as customers look for those affordable, reliable, and valuable vehicles, especially when you can demonstrate the savings from charging instead of gassing up and the financial rewards of local incentives, the federal tax credit, and the CHEAPR program. In sharing all of the amazing things about EVs, we encourage you to experience an EV yourself. When selling an EV, you're not just selling a car, but also the latest piece of technology, and it pays to be informed about the innovative features of the vehicle, the battery life, and here in Connecticut, the car's performance in cold weather. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised to find out that EVs function very well in the winter. And it's often cited that the best tool to convince someone to switch to an EV is to experience one firsthand. As the most influential source of information, your experience as an EV driver will allow you to communicate that experience to your customers in a real and honest way. You'll be able to tell them about how you easily manage charging, and you can explain the great cost savings over gasoline, and share your enthusiasm about driving electric to really seal the deal. It can't be said enough that for your car shoppers, you are the most valuable source of information. They will be looking to you for information on what the experience of EV car ownership will be like. Consumers are relying on you not just for information about the basics of your EVs, but key details such as charging times and costs, the battery range, maintenance costs, and the availability of incentives in addition to CHEAPR, all of which can go a long way in swaying their decision. But it will take some work on your end to learn how to communicate this information, which is what we are here to help you with. One of the main benefits you can share with your new EV customers is the gas savings. They are going to be saving money from their very first day of driving electric, with an average savings of around $600 per year in just gas alone. And numbers from the US Department of Energy show that the cost of charging at home is roughly about 4 cents per mile. With that, the Union of Concerned Scientists did some research and found that the annual fuel cost savings can vary widely throughout the country, depending on the cost of electricity and other things like that. Although it was clear that no matter where you are, there is a savings benefit to driving an EV. In Bridgeport, for example, customers can save over $500 by charging a battery instead of filling up a gas tank. Now, it's weird to wrap your head around fueling an electric car because there's something just different about charging than filling up at a pump, but essentially you're performing the same function. However, the approach to charging is much different, where your average person is mostly going to be charging conveniently at home or at work, and maybe even at a public charger. Now, the US Department of Energy put together this cool online calculator that shows you the annual fuel use, electricity use, cost per mile, annual emissions, and some other neat things, which are all pieces of information that your customers may be interested in knowing. So I encourage you all to check out this tool and see how your vehicles compare. But when you check it out, you'll see that the calculator showing you the results you see here will also show you a graph with a lifetime cumulative cost of ownership. However, I have found this graph to be a little confusing because it includes everything from the price of electricity to replacing the tires. So don't be surprised if the cumulative cost of ownership goes up $40,000 or more beyond the purchase price. There is still a lot of useful information on your vehicles from this tool. And this is a topic that's on everyone's mind, as the solar company Energy Sage produced a report in 2019 about the cost of charging EVs. This chart shows their findings for a Nissan Leaf, a Tesla S and X, and a Chevy Bolt, showing you the vehicle cost, battery range, and price to fully charge. And notice that the range in the cost of charging is indicating the highest and lowest average by state. And again, it's clear that no matter where you are, the cost to charge up an EV is much cheaper than fueling up at a gas station. And you should research how much it will cost to fully charge your EV models because the numbers vary depending on local electricity pricing and the battery capacity. And relaying these real-world EV cost savings to your customers can make a big difference in their decision-making process. Now, the savings begin right at the point of sale or lease when you share the CHEAPR rebate. Connecticut residents are eligible for rebates up to $5,000 instantly, which is a stackable incentive, along with others such as the federal tax credit and other local incentives that may be offered by utility companies, OEMs, or even your dealership. On the CHEAPR website, you will see that for any eligible vehicles, we have calculated in both the rebate and the tax credit, which you can use to easily communicate to your customers what their EV will cost. The federal tax credit program is still available for most EV models at the full $7,500 amount, and plenty others are still at the next incentive level. Informing consumers of both the federal tax credit and the CHEAPR program can quickly add up, saving the consumer up to $9,000. So be sure to stay up to date on the incentive levels for the vehicles that you sell. Knowing about these other incentives and providing information about them to your customers can be a big factor in their decision to adopt an EV. These rebates and others will help you get a car shopper off the fence and into one of your EVs, making incentives a powerful tool for your customer's journey. Additionally, there's a fast-growing secondary market for electric vehicles, which many consumers are interested in. However, the current demand far outstrips the supply of used EVs available today, but you should keep an eye on this used vehicle market and consider that it can open up new avenues for selling cars. Also, the folks over at Connecticut Deep want you to be aware of, so keep your eyes and ears peeled for information about a program being developed for used vehicles and another for a low and moderate income supplement of some kind. And as your dealership outreach coordinator, I am here to help, and our team has developed some materials to help support you. I am available to provide trainings for you and your staff about the program and how to use it. Just send me an email and we can get something set up. But also, there are posters and flyers that you can use anywhere you would like. They're available to download from our website, which I'll show you in a bit, or we can mail you some directly. Also, you'll be receiving today's slides and a recording of the webinar over the coming weeks. As I mentioned before, the CHEAPR program is administered by the Center for Sustainable Energy. In addition to CHEAPR, we administer several other statewide EV incentive programs, including Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Oregon, and the biggest of them all, California. By working in so many states, CSE knows the electric vehicle market and understands consumers' needs, wants, and concerns, as well as the needs and wants of dealers. You can check out our website at energycenter.org and find plenty of valuable insights about our work, the electric vehicle market, and many other interesting resources. Right now, we understand that dealers like yourselves have a lot of concerns related to operating and sustaining your business in these especially difficult times. Even so, electric vehicles hit a sweet spot to generate new sales and collect new customers by providing them with an affordable and cost savings vehicle that meets their needs right now and well into the future. So now let's hear from one of your colleagues, Leo Carl from Carl Chevrolet, who has proven success with selling EVs in Connecticut through offering the CHEAPR rebate to his customers. Leo?
Morning, Tom. Thanks. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning. I agreed to join this webinar just to share our story, and I know how difficult the auto market is right now. This has been a challenging year on so many fronts. COVID, inventory levels, supply and demand. It's just been a very, very difficult year for dealerships and all dealership personnel. But that said, we're definitely in a transformative period for the auto industry, and electric vehicles are one of the key tipping points. And I've believed since the first EVs came to market back in around 2010 with the Chevy Volt and the Nissan Leaf, Tesla hitting the market, that EVs were coming. It may have been a slower adoption thus far than any of us would have predicted, but the trend has started and it's only going to get bigger. And I think I'll just share some key things with you this morning that hopefully anyone can take and adapt to your own dealership. I think one of the most important things to realize with electric vehicles is getting someone behind the wheel of a vehicle and experiencing the drive is the #1 thing you need to do. Get them exposed. Keep an EV in your showroom. Add them to your rental fleet. Get people behind the wheel. Take them to community events, grassroots events where you think there might be electric vehicle intenders. I would suggest every dealership should have at least one EV champion on their team that really knows and understands EVs. I think it's really important to realize that electric vehicle buyers or shoppers are very educated. Most of them have done a lot of research. They know they want an EV and they've made the decision to go out and look for an EV. And if they walk in to the store asking about an EV, that's what they want to hear about. They don't want to be switched to something else. And it's very important for dealerships to understand that we need to step up our game and be ready and prepared to answer those consumers' questions. As I said, it's a seminal moment for the auto industry. We've got auto companies building EVs that are only selling them online that don't have dealerships. And it's important if dealerships want to be effectively selling EVs into the future, we need to step up and meet the consumer demands, answer people's questions, provide valuable added services at the point of interaction with the customer. So I think it's important to ask yourself, what am I adding to the equation for this customer looking at an EV? What can I share with them that's of value? And it's usually knowledge and real world experience. One of the things we did early on was get most of our staff here at the dealership to take an EV home for a night or two, experience driving it themselves. Over the years, I'd say a third of our staff has leased or purchased an EV for their own personal vehicle. We've embraced them and really enjoy driving them, and therefore we have a lot of real world stories to share with customers. So make sure you drive one yourself, #1. As far as the CHEAPR program goes, it's evolved over the years that it's been out, and it's much easier to administer. So if you've had any interaction before and haven't done anything recently, the process is much smoother. I'll share a couple of caveats specifically about the CHEAPR program. First and foremost, it's a pilot program still that is eligible only one time per licensed driver. So if a Connecticut driver has used the CHEAPR rebate on a purchase or lease in the past, they're not going to be eligible to use it again. So one of the things that's important in your sales process early on is to use the website and do a search for the customer's driver's license number and determine if they are eligible. The last thing you want to do is start talking about a sale or lease, including a CHEAPR rebate, only to find out close to delivery that that customer is not eligible and you have to back away. That's never fun. So it's a helpful process to add in early on when you're talking to someone. Check to see if they're eligible, and then you can bring up the CHEAPR rebate with them as a tool to help close the sale. It's good on the purchase or lease, and if the dealership applies for the money, you can apply it right to the purchase, take the burden off the customer. From my experience, payment happens within 2 to 3 weeks of delivery, typically. So it's not a long time you're out the money. It's applying for a rebate, much like a manufacturer's rebate, except there's some documentation you need to do. So you go to the website. Tom will walk you through that in a few minutes here. Input some information. The consumer just needs to finish a quick survey, and then the dealership uploads some documents from the sale to the website that confirms the rebate, and it's paid to you, like I said, in 2 or 3 weeks. We've had really good response. Consumers appreciate the extra incentive from the state, and we kind of use it as just a closing tool that says, hey, Connecticut's very vested in trying to introduce more EVs to our roadways, and as an early adapter, you can get the benefit by getting an additional rebate from the state to help make the purchase or lease of your new EV more affordable. We do have charging stations on site at our dealership. We have a few that are open to the public. We kind of restrict them to our own business use during business hours, but they're open 24/7 otherwise to the public. And it's not, I mean, I have a Chevy dealership, but I'll drive by on a weekend or at night and I'll find Teslas, BMWs, other models plugged in. And I don't mind because eventually they're going to need another car and hopefully they'll remember us. One other thing we've done, dealerships do a lot of marketing, and you can go out and buy a billboard. You can spend money in different ways. Early on, we elected to sponsor a few EV charging stations locally, and we have a little billboard for our dealership on the charging station just sponsored by. They're not super expensive to do. So if you find a local institution, high traffic area, local school or university maybe that would appreciate having an EV charger on site, you can get some name recognition for the dealership, and it's just it's a marketing way to get some exposure. Otherwise, it's just really getting, as I said, getting people behind the wheel and experiencing it. But know your stuff. Understand EVs. Be ready to talk the language, and you'll see some success. Tom, back to you.
Thanks, Leo. That was really insightful and some good tips for any person looking to get into an EV. I've driven one myself and found it to be a really, really enjoyable experience. And I hope that all of you online today take the time to drive one yourself and have that experience yourselves, because they are really cool. So now that you've learned about the CHEAPR program and a bit about how to promote EVs to your customers, I'm going to walk you through our website and the online dealer application portal and explain exactly how to submit applications for your customers. In this section, we are going to learn about who can apply for a rebate and what vehicles are eligible, the different levels of rebates and the available funding, the application process, and where to find resources that we have developed for you to use absolutely free. Additionally, I will tell you about some other resources that you can use to inform your customers about, such as charging resources and how to locate charging stations. So, the CHEAPR rebate is available to individuals, businesses, nonprofits, and local and state agencies. Individuals must be a Connecticut resident at the time of their vehicle purchase or lease and are eligible for one rebate. For other eligible entities, which must be based in Connecticut, are eligible for two rebates. Additionally, they must retain ownership of the vehicle for a minimum of 24 months, which means lease terms need to be at least 24 months to be eligible for the CHEAPR program. Currently, vehicles must have a base MSRP not exceeding $42,000 for eligible plug-in hybrids and battery electric vehicles, and not exceeding $60,000 for any eligible fuel cell vehicle. Rebate amounts are as follows: $5,000 for fuel cell vehicles, $1,500 for all battery electric with a range of 200 electric miles or greater, and $500 for any plug-in hybrid and battery electric vehicle with less than 200 miles of electric range. And as you can see here on the CHEAPR homepage website, at the left are several pages designed to help you and your potential customers understand and apply for the program. In descending order, we have our eligible vehicles, available funding, and be sure to check here frequently, our program statistics, program resources, our frequently asked questions, and our contact information, the dealer application portal, and I'll cover more of this in a minute, and some other interesting sites that are worth checking out. So, under the Available Resources tab, you will find a number of different items that we have created to help inform people about how the program works and materials designed to highlight the benefits of the rebate. We have already drafted some email templates for you to communicate interest in EVs with all of your customers, especially those who previously may have expressed interest in an EV, but weren't ready to buy one. We understand that all of you are very busy people, so we're trying to make it as easy as possible for you to make an EV sales. And if you have any suggestions, feedback, or recommendations, we'd always love to hear it. So the CHEAPR program works by the dealer sales representative applying for the rebate on behalf of the customer. And this is usually done at the same time as the purchase or lease, and it's the easiest to do so since the customer is right there with you. But the program allows for an application to be submitted as long as it's within 10 calendar days of the purchase or lease date. Then dealers will need to collect and upload all of the additional supporting documentation no later than 45 days after the purchase or lease date. To start an application, you follow the Dealer Application tab from the CHEAPR homepage. But first, if your dealership has not participated in the CHEAPR program yet, you'll need to fill out and submit a dealership ACH form. This form and any other that you will need can be found by following the dealer forms link at the bottom of the webpage, and I'll show you this in a bit. So once you send that to us, this will create a dealership account with a unique identifier for your dealership so that any of your sales staff can then go online and submit an application for a rebate. Following the Dealer Application tab from the CHEAPR homepage will take you to the Dealer Hub login screen. There, you have two options, to log in or create a dealer account. If you have not submitted a CHEAPR application before, then you will need to create a new account. To create a dealership account, you'll need to provide the dealership name, dealership license number, and the dealership address. Once that is done, you click Create Account and you'll be taken to the Dealer Hub. The Dealer Hub has a number of features that are designed to help you submit rebate applications, check on their status, and check your customer's eligibility in an efficient and streamlined manner. You can search for your customer's driver's license or tax identifier number at the top of the page under the Eligibility Check tool, since CHEAPR rebates are limited to 1 per person and 2 per business, nonprofits, and other eligible entities. This feature, which is shown here in the upper left corner, is at the top of the page of the Dealer Hub, and it's super easy to use. Since, as of right now, rebates are limited, it's important to check to see if your customer is eligible. Scrolling down from there, you will see your dealer profile, followed by a table of your current applications and their status. Below this, you'll see a button to start a new application. However, before applying, you will want to clarify which type of rebate you are applying for, as there are two different ways in which the customer can claim a rebate. The first is a consumer claimed rebate, which is when your customer submits the consumer ACH form and a voided check, which allows them to receive their rebate later via an electronic transfer into their bank account. The second is a dealer claimed rebate, which is when your customer fills out the rebate transfer form, which says that they are voluntarily giving up their rebate claim to funds to your dealership. This means that the CHEAPR rebate will be applied to the final purchase or lease agreement, so your customer is getting the rebate immediately at the time of purchase or lease. And please make sure to clearly state on the purchase or lease agreement that the CHEAPR rebate was applied to the vehicle's price. This makes it easier for our rebate processing team to accept applications and give dealerships their money. Once you have started, you'll be taken to the first page of the rebate application. At the top, you will see 4 steps: selecting the vehicle, accepting the terms and conditions, creating the application, and uploading required documents. The Select Vehicle page is the first page that opens when you start a new application. This page has a list of all the currently eligible vehicles with their model years, EV range, and their rebate amount. To select the vehicle for which the rebate is being applied, you just click Apply Now. Next, the Accept Terms page opens, and the text is a little small here, but when you're filling out an application for the first time, it's not a bad idea to take a couple of minutes to read through it thoroughly. It's all pretty standard information. There are 5 boxes that need to be checked off in order to proceed to the next step, which is creating the application. All you do is click Accept to proceed. And the actual rebate application does require a fair bit of information and time to fill out, but it's all very straightforward. The application has 6 sections covering information about your customer, your dealership, and the vehicle being applied for. Online, this will all be on a single continuously scrolling page, and I won't read off everything that you'll need here since all of the information is pretty formal and easy to understand. We have all of the required information marked with an asterisk, but we also collect additional information that can be helpful to know, such as if a manufacturer's rebate or other vehicle incentives were applied. Once all of that has been filled out, you click the Apply button. The next page is where you will upload the required documents and be provided with a quick view of the application status. This status bar is also available on the Dealer Hub homepage. And there are quite a few documents required to complete the application, but these shouldn't be too hard to get. They are a copy of the vehicle registration, a copy of the applicant's driver's license, the purchase agreement, and if the rebate will be claimed by a consumer ACH form and a voided check, or if the rebate is dealer claimed, you'll need a rebate transfer form. Once you have all of those and uploaded them to the web page, you can submit the application for processing by CSC staff. You will receive confirmation emails from us about your application and reminders to submit any required documents. And that's it. It doesn't take too much time to provide your customer with a huge incentive to buy an electric car on your lot. And to help you, there is a dealer forms link at the bottom of every web page, including the Dealer Hub for easy access. Along with links to each of the required documents, you are provided with samples of everything you will need in case there are any questions about what each document looks like. At a quick glance, here are some of the forms needed to complete an application. And all of these forms are also very straightforward. However, always reach out to us if you have any questions about the application or the application process. And one last thing. One of the most cited concerns about driving an electric vehicle is range anxiety, which is the fear that the vehicle's battery capacity isn't enough to get to where you want them to go and also return. However, this fear can be refuted for the customer by citing a study by the Union of Concerned Scientists that found that over 60% of your average daily driving needs can be met with current battery technology. Along with range anxiety, a lack of charging infrastructure is to blame for consumers' hesitation to go electric. And while that may have been true a few years ago, a lot of development has happened with charging infrastructure and deployment, and the number of installations are only continuing to rise. You can see these maps made by Plug-in America, which is one of the best interactive tools you can use to find a charger. And these maps can easily be found by simply Googling Plug-in America on your smartphone, and you'll be brought to this easy-to-use interactive map. Also, the folks at Connecticut Deep have planned and executed several DC fast charging routes through Connecticut. And this map shows the major routes throughout the state, each with charging infrastructure all along the way, clearly showing that anyone living in or passing through Connecticut is never far from a charging station. And this network is only in the process of being expanded. And with that, I think we've hit all of the major points about EVs and CHEAPR. So over the coming weeks, each of you will receive a copy of these slides and have access to a recording of this webinar. You'll also be receiving our CHEAPR content kit, which will have all of the resources we have developed to help communicate information about the rebate and electric vehicles to your customers. So I want to thank you for joining us today. And we hope that this presentation got you excited about EVs and information to share with your customers. One of the most effective things you can do as a dealer to help promote electric vehicles in Connecticut is let your customers know about available incentives and then help them apply for our rebate. But to really get into EVs, you should experience them yourself and let your staff members drive them. Take them home and commute with them, because your customers are going to look to you and your staff for information. I am also available to provide you and your staff with more information about the CHEAPR program and provide hands-on trainings on how to use the application portal. My contact information will be listed at the end of the presentation, and please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly. Should also be aware that we are expecting some program changes in 2021. So stay tuned on exciting things happening to the CHEAPR program. And if there are any questions, I'd love to take them. So I am not seeing that we have any questions. So one last thing, if you would like a training for your staff, please reach out to me directly and I can work with you to schedule a time. And if you have any questions about the CHEAPR, do not hesitate to contact me at tom.o'neill@energycenter.org, or you can call me directly at 508-649-9724, or you can email our program email address, which is cheapr@energycenter.org. So once again, thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules today to join us. I hope that this was an informative webinar for you. Thank you.